the features going off to the southwest, the two large, almost look like scratches in the surface. I don't know if they're rays or canyons or collapsed lava tubes, but two distinct features that are almost parallel going off southwest from Oriental Basin. They are the first things that made me notice parallax of our trajectory looking out at Oriental. That and in the inner walls of the east side of the crater rings, you really get a sense that we're flying over something with elevation and terrain, and they look different from Oriental Basin. They are the first things that...
Love to hear it, Victor, and you had it that those chains are actually crater rays, secondary craters formed from the formation of Oriental.
Yeah, speaking of crater rays, the crater rays that are going off to the northwest, that run off toward Hertzsprung and I believe toward Vavilov. I'm not looking at it right now, but those crater rays are very interesting. They're all very small. I know you've imaged this, but they're all small and they look like, you know, a big impact launched rocks and things that made smaller impacts down the way. But something very interesting, and again, you can see this in imagery, but some of them are parallel, and then some of them converge toward the center of Oriental. And then I think I even saw some that maybe diverge, which not diverge, but that are convergent, which indicate multiple large impacts that created a lot of secondary impact crater rays.
Fantastic, Victor. And I'll note that we can infer that you're looking down at your freshly named Integrity crater, which is near the end of one of those beautiful crater rays from Oriental. Thanks for the description.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Integrity is easily identifiable with the naked eye from this point.
We've been hearing some great situation reports from Victor Glover, the pilot of the Artemis 2 mission, calling down to the science team, letting them know what he is seeing. And one of those things is Hertzsprung Basin. If you look just to the right of the Terminator, that is the difference between light and darkness on the moon. You can see what he's describing when he says Hertzsprung Basin and how it looks a little bit paved in the middle there. It's almost in the very center of the moon in this view, coming from the Orion spacecraft and a camera mounted on its solar array. We are now 4 days, 23 hours, and 23 minutes into the flight of Artemis 2, and we are standing by for their lunar loss of signal in about 43 minutes. Again, the spacecraft will fly behind the moon, and during that time, we won't have communication with them. They will be out of reach of our deep space network. However, we will regain communication with them approximately 40 minutes later when they come around the other side of the moon. The crew aboard the spacecraft are currently discussing the Terminator, that difference between day and night. The science team is interested in learning about the topography and the color of the lunar surface, and it's already been very interesting to hear that they have seen colors like greens and browns while looking at the moon. Some of the questions that they are hoping the crew will discuss are how do the quantities and sizes of craters and mountains vary along the Terminator, and they are looking for the crew to describe the topography of features along or near the Terminator. They're also looking for more information on any color or tone variations, and they're hoping that the crew will take images to illustrate their findings. Glover reported earlier that the crew has missed none of their targets when they are photographing at the window. We aren't hearing the conversations that the crew is having right now, but these are being recorded to their personal computer devices, PCDs, and those will be sent down to the science team. The science team will have a conference with the crew tomorrow morning to discuss their findings and experience when looking at the moon today. We have a few minutes left while the crew is discussing the Terminator. And if you're just joining us, you're looking at a live view of the moon, our moon, from the Orion spacecraft and a camera on its solar array. Inside that spacecraft, 4 astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen, the first 4 people to fly around the moon in over 50 years. This is our lunar flyby day, and the crew has already surpassed one record today. The crew passed the Apollo 13 distance record at 12:57 p.m. Central, 1:57 p.m. Eastern. Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen calling down that he hopes it's a record soon broken by other explorers. We are live in Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas, monitoring the flight of Artemis 2. All of the flight controllers here, each monitoring a different system aboard the Orion spacecraft.
Integrity Houston, we are ready for our cabin and window teams to swap again. We have a 15-minute handover time here, and I have a couple of items I want to read up to you. They'll require you to write something down on your knee boards, so let me know when you're ready.
Okay, Houston, we are ready.
Copy, Integrity. First of all, once you start this next shift here, during this lunar observation shift, we will begin our lunar LOS, so you can expect a call from me a few minutes prior reminding you. And second of all, FIDO just sent us updated altitudes and METs for lunar closest approach and max Earth altitude. Let me know when you are ready to write those down. They differ slightly from Optimus.
Thanks, Jenny. We are ready to copy.
Lunar closest approach will be at MET 5 days, 0 hours, 25 minutes, 34 seconds, and the altitude will be 4,067 statute miles. Maximum Earth altitude will be at MET 5 days, 0 hours, 27 minutes, 39 seconds, with an altitude of 252,756 statute miles.
The crew really wants to ask for that in kilometers and in parsecs, but thank you for those. That is great. Thanks for that update.
I'll send Fido to work, and I appreciate the metric. Other than that, I have no new vehicle statuses to pass to you. Enjoy your handover time, and we're looking forward to picking back up with you shortly.
All right, we'll talk to you shortly.
Those words called from Capcom Jenny Gibbons, CSA astronaut and Artemis 2 backup crew member, to the crew working aboard the Orion spacecraft. Had a little bit of a view inside the cabin. As you can see, it is very dark. The crew has turned off the lights, and the light that you were able to see is coming through the window, a reflection of Earthshine and from the moon. The crew is moving into their next observation block, meaning they are taking time to switch cabin and window teams. We've had Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen at the windows taking pictures and making annotations and recording some audio files that will be downlinked later to the science team. Meanwhile, Victor Glover and Christina Cook were in the background serving as support. They were also timelined to enjoy a little bit of their midday meal. Now that we are swapping positions, the support team becomes Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen. They will be in the background helping with SD card swaps, as well as providing those situational reports to the science team. Victor Glover and Christina Cook will be the astronauts at the window, photographing and speaking into those PCDs, portable computing devices, about what they're seeing on the moon. As you heard Capcom Jenny Gibbons call to the crew, this block is also when we will lose communications with the crew. That LOS, or loss of signal, scheduled to be less than 35 minutes from now. We anticipate to be out of signal with them for about 40 minutes, and will regain that communication once they've flown around the other side of the moon. Now, even though the crew will be flying behind the moon, their observation period does not stop. They will still be taking pictures and making annotations of what they are seeing. They'll be looking for the limb of the moon, Earth set, and then Vavilov crater, which we have previously seen. They'll swap positions at the window before moving into a crew choice option. They will get to pick things that are interesting to them on the surface, take pictures, and explain why they find them that way. They'll also be looking for any impact flashes. These are short-lived flashes on the lunar surface caused by impact bombardment. Just before Earthrise, the crew will be looking for lofted lunar dust. This may be lofted just above the lunar surface, and we could only see it just before Earthrise along the dark western limb. Any Earthshine would illuminate potential lofted dust. But once the crew is all the way around the Earth, the brightness of the Earth will wash out any of that dust they might be able to see. These were based on observations from Apollo missions and orbital spacecraft, and so we're very interested to see if the crew might be able to capture some of that lunar dust today. Following that lofted lunar dust target, the next will be Earthrise. We will regain communications with the crew shortly after Earthrise. There will be a short observation break period where the moon is not in view. That's because we are also anticipating the crew seeing an eclipse today. The moon won't be in view because the team here in Mission Control Houston will need to change the attitude of the spacecraft and ensure that its solar arrays are gathering light from the sun heading into that eclipse period. So we will have communication with the crew, we just won't be able to see the moon. However, we will have views during that eclipse time frame. During that time, the science team is looking to know it will only be illuminated by Earthshine at that point. So they want to know what the whole moon looks like overall, but they also want the crew to look into deep space and potentially see if they can spot any planets. Once the eclipse is over, the lunar flyby period will have ended. We are live through the whole thing, and even once flyby is over today, we remain live 24/7 on NASA's YouTube.
Integrity, if you got a moment.
Go ahead.
I don't know if Catherine and Devin are still there, but if they are, just wanted to just let them know how much fun we're having out here. It's extraordinary to be on the far side of the moon right now, just seeing hanging out there and looking back at the Earth. And Ashley and Kaylin, I know you're back in Canada, but if you happen to be watching too, just wanted to say hi to all you guys. Love you guys, and we'll be heading back your way shortly.
Thanks, Jeremy. I hear they are watching, and your family is still here. So thanks for passing that along. This view inside the Orion spacecraft, and it's a little hard to make out, but on the left there, that is Jeremy Hansen just calling down some well wishes to his family, joining us in the viewing room and watching online. Currently in the window are Victor Glover and Christina Cook. They are taking pictures outside of the window as they are now in their flyby observation block. At this time, Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen are serving as support crew members, and they are also going to have an opportunity to enjoy their midday meal at this time. On the lunch menu today for Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen, we have vegetarian chili, salmon croquettes, chicken with peanut sauce, sweet and savory kale, pickled beets, chocolate pudding, barbecued beef brisket, spaghetti and meat sauce, Italian vegetables, butternut squash, candy-coated chocolates, and maybe even a little bit of coffee. And if you look closely, you can see it looks like they are getting into some of their food for the midday meal. All of the food on the spacecraft is rehydratable. We don't have an option for fresh food as there's not a refrigerated section of the Orion spacecraft. So all of this food can either be rehydrated or eaten straight from the package, just depends on what the food actually is. And for food that needs to be rehydrated, there is information on each package of how much water needs to fill that bag and what temperature it needs to be.
We are now 4 days, 23 hours, and 39 minutes, 40 minutes actually, into the flight of Artemis 2, the spacecraft now under 4,500 miles from the moon. We are now also under 30 minutes away from loss of signal with the astronauts. We will regain that communication about 40 minutes later. They will still be photographing the moon and documenting what they're seeing while they're behind the moon. And we especially look forward to potential Earthset and Earthrise views. As you can see on the left side of your screen, we are streaming this solar array camera view throughout the flyby. And the science team also plans to capture an occasional still photo with the solar array intermittently, perhaps one every 8 to 10 minutes. Still photos represent the highest resolution imagery from those GoPro cameras. So starting 5 minutes before Earthset and loss of signal, the science team will capture a series of photos, one every 30 seconds, to include Earthset, all the way through 5 minutes after Earthrise and acquisition of signal. In order to capture these frequent photos, the solar array camera that we were streaming will need to switch to time-lapse photo mode. So during this time, the streaming video quality won't be as sharp as you have it right now, but we want to ensure that the science team captures the data that they need during these time frames. And we really look forward to seeing those higher resolution images once they're available. But with the view you are seeing right now, we are sharing bandwidth on the Orion spacecraft with every system that is keeping the spacecraft powered and the crew alive, especially the environmental control and life support system. As this is the first flight with crew, this is also the first flight of a life support system, keeping the crew healthy and safe on the way to the moon and the way home. On the timeline, we're getting towards the end of the cabin and window team swap period, but it looks like our astronauts, Victor Glover and Christina Cook, are already photographing the moon outside of those windows. The next target is Ohm Crater, and this is something that they have photographed previously during the flyby. This is a small, complex crater with a prominent ray system, and as referenced earlier, it's the size of the Eye of the Sahara. That Eye of the Sahara is a feature in Mauritania. Seeing this crater more than once throughout the flyby allows the crew to photograph it at different lighting conditions. Those different lighting conditions help expose different portions of the target and can help the science team learn a little bit more about how it formed and what it is today. Again, this view inside the spacecraft as the crew continues photographing the moon outside their windows. They have turned the lights off to allow them to better get photos of the moon, preventing any reflections from coming in from the spacecraft. We expect the crew to be targeting Ohm Crater for another 6 minutes or so before they move into a discussion of the limb. Now, the science team has asked for a science sit rep or situation report during that time, so we hope to hear calls from the crew on what they are observing. If you've been following along, at the start of the day, we did have much more of the moon visible. And even just an hour or so ago, we could see about half of the moon. We are now continuing to see more of the far side and that darkness where the moon is not reflecting light from the sun. Earlier, we were also able to see some of those darker portions, that old lava flow that we often see on the near side of the moon and that we can all see from Earth. That has mostly gone away. We are now just seeing very little of Oriental. That's down to the bottom right of the moon. You can see just a small dark portion near the limb. We are now about 18 minutes away from loss of signal with the Orion crew. Again, we use the Deep Space Network to communicate with the crew members when they are this far from Earth. This is the first mission since Apollo when we have had humans on the Deep Space Network. As you recently heard Capcom Jenny Gibbons call to the crew, We expect their closest approach to the moon to be at MET, or mission elapsed time, of 5 days, 25 minutes, and 34 seconds. At that time, their altitude would be 4,067 statute miles above the Earth's surface. Just over 2 minutes later, they will reach their maximum distance from Earth at mission elapsed time 5 minutes, 5 days, 27 minutes, and 39 seconds. The altitude at that time would be 252,756 statute miles. These are our latest numbers, and we'll make sure to verify and confirm those once those milestones have been achieved. Obviously, we will be without communication to the spacecraft at that time, so once we regain communication, we will make sure to find out those numbers and report those to you. Checking in on the lunar targeting package, the crew is now in their discussion of the limb, seeing the limb of the moon, that illuminated part. Currently at the windows taking photos and making annotations are Victor Glover and Christina Cook. We are expecting loss of signal in about 13 minutes. We will regain that signal with the crew about 40 minutes later. A milestone worth mentioning that this day marks the first time in more than 50 years that humans will observe the moon directly, a critical opportunity to practice how lunar science will be conducted during future Artemis missions. I've continued to reference the lunar targeting package throughout this broadcast, which is the primary tool guiding the crew observations, and that consists of two key components. The first of those is the Lunar Geography Review, which helped the astronauts study major lunar features in advance. That also helped them learn to orient themselves during the flyby. The Lunar Targeting Plan provides a detailed timeline of observation targets, background science context, and specific instructions for the picture the crew should take, and verbal descriptions of what will be helpful to the science team reviewing those pictures later. That's what we've been tracking real time and what the crew is using right now to keep up with their next milestones.
Integrity Houston, 10 minutes till the LOS. We'll take a snappy sit rep from the cabin if you have one.
Okay, Jenny, that came, we missed most of that, but just a 10-minute warning, is that what you're saying?
10-minute warning for the LOS, and I'll take a quick sit rep from the cabin, please.
All right, cabin is still full of excitement. We've got Christina in window 2, Ike in Victor in window 3. Reed's actually been trying to get some images out of the docking tunnel. We can see the Earth and the Moon and part of the Moon out of the docking tunnel, which is pretty good. And I'm just grabbing some footage right now with our interior cameras.
Copy, Jeremy. We'd like to know what camera Reed is using and also the status of window 1. Looks like there might be a shroud removed.
Okay. Reed was using the Z9, and the T-shirt shroud is still on window 1, but we took the camera out of it. So maybe that's what you're noticing. But when I looked in there, I saw a lot of sunlight reflecting around.
Copy. That makes a lot of sense to us, Jeremy. I want to remind you, coming up on this LOS, that we'll take sit reps in the blind. And as more and more of the moon is in darkness, we will take any report you have on impact flashes.
All right, Jenny, you have to say again your last. There's a lot of conversation here, and I was on the other side of the cabin, so I missed all of it.
Look out for impact flashes, and we'll take sit reps in the blind.
Okay, impact flashes, sit reps in the blind. We got it. And yeah, just so you understand what's going on with window 1, there is light coming through the outer hull from window 2 into the inside of window one, if that makes sense. Like I can see the inside of the vehicle when I look between the two panes of glass.
Copy.
You're getting your first live look at Orion, the moon, and the Earth. Everyone in this picture. This is a live view from the Orion spacecraft. Currently aboard Orion, 4 crew members, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen. And on the Earth, all of us, all of humanity. You can see the moon is starting to get a little bit dimmer as the astronauts are going to pass behind it. Now 6 minutes and 26 seconds away from that loss of signal. Again, we will be out of communication with them for about 40 minutes until they come around the other side of the moon and we can re-establish contact.
Integrity Houston, you are 6 minutes from your 40-minute lunar flyby LOS. From all of us, it's a privilege to witness you carrying the fire past our farthest reach. Thank you. Godspeed.
Thank you for that, Jenny. And thank you to all of you for allowing us the immense privilege to be on this journey together. It's quite amazing. And as we go on this journey, thinking about the NASA mission to explore the unknown in air and space, to innovate for the benefit of humanity, and to inspire the world through discovery. And as you've gone along on this journey with us, hopefully we're doing just those things. And as we get close to the nearest point to the moon and farthest point from Earth, as we continue to unlock the mysteries of the cosmos, I would like to remind you of one of the most important mysteries there on Earth, and that's love. Christ said in response to what was the greatest command, that it was to love God with all that you are. And he also, being a great teacher, said the second is equal to it, and that is to love your neighbor as yourself. And so, as we prepare to go out of radio communication, we're still to feel your love from Earth, and to all of you down there on Earth and around Earth, we love you from the moon.
Houston copies. We'll see you on the other side.
We will see you on the other side.
Poignant words from NASA astronaut Victor Glover, and a little bit of a love letter from the other side of the moon all the way to Earth. Glover touching on the teachings of Jesus, including to love your neighbor as yourself. We are now less than 3 minutes away from loss of signal with the Orion astronauts. The Artemis 2 crew will be out of signal for about 40 minutes as they are on the other side of the moon, continuing their work photographing the lunar surface, and they will reemerge, and we will also get this view on the other side. Just about a minute and a half now until we lose communication with the astronauts aboard Orion on the Artemis 2 mission. Now 5 days and 6 minutes since their launch on April 1st. Again, we'll be out of communication for about 40 minutes. And this really beautiful view of a crescent moon and a crescent Earth. How great thou art. "30 seconds now until we expect loss of signal. And we have confirmation of loss of signal of the Orion spacecraft as it flies behind the moon. We expect to regain communications with them in another approximately 40 minutes. This was expected as their spacecraft is now out of direct line of sight with Earth and behind the moon. And this is a poignant moment as it's the first time in over 50 years that we have humans completely unreachable by anyone else on Earth. No matter how distant or secluded, we could reach anyone living on Earth, but while the crew flies behind the moon, it's simply impossible to make contact with them. This is a live view inside the Science Evaluation Room here at Johnson Space Center and just down the hall from Mission Control. This team has been monitoring the flyby all day as the team has continued capturing targets on the lunar surface. We even got to see this team in action as they were helping the astronauts identify some of the features they were seeing on the moon but not expecting. There will be a couple of milestones during this loss of signal. The first will be when the astronauts make their closest approach of the moon at MET 5 days, 25 minutes, and 34 seconds, when we expect they'll be 4,067 statute miles above the lunar surface. Their maximum Earth altitude will be reached just 2 minutes later, at 5 days, 27 minutes, and 39 seconds, when their altitude should be approximately 252,756 statute miles. Once those milestones are reached and we have confirmation, we will report the official numbers. Throughout the Artemis 2 mission, astronaut voice, images, video, and vital mission data must traverse thousands of miles carried on signals from NASA's powerful communications systems, the Near Space Network and the Deep Space Network. Let's learn a little bit more.
NASA's Artemis 2 will send 4 astronauts around the moon, preparing humanity for a long-term lunar presence and future journeys to Mars. Enabling communication and navigation for this test flight are NASA's Near Space Network and Deep Space Network. With antennas around the world and a fleet of relay satellites, the networks will deliver vital data to and from Earth through all phases of the mission. The networks are
Meanwhile, aboard the spacecraft, the crew has continued executing their lunar flyby tasks. As we discussed earlier today, these activities have been precisely timelined, and this is the fourth of 5 blocks of time during which the crew will be observing the moon from Orion's windows. At this time, pilot Victor Glover and mission specialist Christina Cook are observing the moon at windows 2 and 3. One crew member is in window 2 with a blue shroud over the window, taking photos and using an 80 to 400 millimeter zoom lens, while the other astronaut is in window 3 using their portable computing device, also known as a PCD, to make annotations. And both of those crew members are making audio recordings of what they are seeing. They are wearing headsets connected to their PCDs, and those audio recordings are being sent to the science team tonight. We are not hearing those live. However, we have been hearing quite a lot of great descriptions from the crew who have been serving as the support. Right now, the support team members are Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen. Those team members are providing science sit-reps, situation reports, calling down a few times each hour to discuss what they're observing. And even though we're out of contact with them right now, they are still conducting those science sit-reps as they'll be available once they come back around the moon. The situation reports include how the crew is positioned, any missed targets, or anything unexpected they saw. They're also including lunar target descriptions, any hardware issues, and their emotions and reactions. Again, we are standing by to acquire signal from the Orion spacecraft. We're in the Artemis Mission Control Room at Johnson Space Center, getting our preliminary contact with Orion, that acquisition of signal coming after a 40-minute loss of signal, during which the crew was flying behind the moon, out of contact with anyone on Earth. We are getting our first views from Orion after the loss of signal. Orion has come back around the other side of the moon, and that little crescent that you see is Earth, over 252,000 miles away. With this transit complete, lunar flyby continues, but Orion has also technically begun its journey home. Right now, the crew are getting a few moments to enjoy and take photos of Earthrise for themselves, and we expect to contact them shortly. But we do have good signal coming from Orion. This view from inside the Orion spacecraft, all 4 astronauts now back on the other side of the moon and in contact with us on Earth. Their tasks for lunar flyby did not stop as they went behind the moon and out of contact with us. We anticipate during that time they were attempting to image some impact flashes, short-lived flashes on the lunar surface, which would be caused by impact bombardment and potentially even lofted lunar dust. Right now, of course, they are getting pictures of Earthrise. After this target, they will get a short observation break. It's about an hour long, actually.
Houston, integrity, comm check.
Integrity, we have you loud and clear. How many?
Houston, we have you the same, and it is so great to hear from Earth again. To Asia, Africa, and Oceania, we are looking back at you. We hear you can look up and see the moon right now. We see you too. When we burned this burn towards the moon, I said that we do not leave Earth, but we choose it. And that is true. We will explore, we will build ships, we will visit again. We will construct science outposts, we will drive rovers, we will do radio astronomy, we will found companies, we will bolster industry, we will inspire. But ultimately, we will always choose Earth. We will always choose each other.
Integrity from Earth, our single system, fragile and interconnected. We copy. Those of us that can are looking back.
Mas aí não seria possível. Peraí que eu quero voltar. Olha lá, olha lá. De novo. Vamos ver de novo um momento. De novo. Agora.
Que coisa esquisita, viu?
Bizarro. O que vocês acham?
Those first communications back with the astronauts aboard Orion. Christina Cook calling back to what she said just before translunar injection burn, that with this burn, we do not leave Earth, we choose it. The translunar injection
Vocês acham?
burn
Deixa aí nos
served as
comentários. Tá
not
ficando
only
maior, né? Ó,
keep
em
them
40
on
minutos já
trajectory
deu
to fly around
diferença.
the
Seriam
moon, but what
defeitos
also committed them
especiais
to splashing down in
na
the Pacific
transmissão da
Ocean on
NASA?
flight
Que
day
coisa
10.
estranha,
Porque já
bizarro.
tem gente por aí que acha.
Mas aí não seria possível. Peraí que eu quero voltar. Olha lá. De novo. Vamos ver de novo um momento. De novo.
At this time, the crew is entering an observation break. We expect this to last about an hour, and it's probably a welcomed break following their very, very busy day taking pictures, making annotations, making audio recordings, and communicating all of the wonderful things that they are seeing on the moon. This observation break is also partially due to the fact that we will be entering an eclipse later. This will be the first solar eclipse that humans have seen from the moon. The astronauts will need to wear eclipse glasses for the first 2 minutes until the sun is completely covered by the moon, and then they have additional targets that the science team is hoping that they will photograph. We will have communications with them during that eclipse time frame. Because of that eclipse, Orion's attitude must be changed right now so that its solar arrays are in the sun. This will help it charge the batteries needed to power it through that eclipse time frame. This view on your screen is a visualization. The spacecraft now 4,224 miles away from the moon, and that number will now continue to grow, while the number of distance from Earth, 252,699 miles, will continue to shrink all the way until our crew is back home